Stop pressuring me. Stop pressuring me. What up, y'all? Listen to that Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. Stop pressuring me. Stop fucking with me. Makes me wanna scream. What's up, y'all? Can y'all chat in the chat room? What's up, y'all? Let me know. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Say something in the chat. Say something in the chat. What's up, Christian Clayton? I ain't seen that name in the chat room in a minute. Christian Clayton, what up, bro? I ain't seen that nigga in a minute. What's up, Trey Day? By the time, Mickey Russell. Here we go. I was lighting my blunt through the reflection in my phone. Hear me loud and clear? Cool, cool, cool. My mic in here. I got my cell phone mic. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. What up, Drayvon Bentley? What's up, DC Static? Oh yeah, Seattle. Yeah. Yeah. We're about to talk about this weekend's Tether All-Star Weekend festivities. It's a lot to unpack. Anyone who knows me know I used to go spend a lot of time at All-Star Weekend. These last few years, I didn't really watch All-Star Weekend. But today I decided to. And boy. What's up, Kemptown, Texas? Are you enjoyed the train? That's what's up. Say, where's Pastor Randy? Chilling in his church offices, I'm sure. So yeah, we here. Get your candles at lightthemood.com. The link is in the description. Weed Smoke 22 is your product code, your discount code for 40% off. lightthemood.com. And then, I got my show coming up this Saturday. The Comedy Chateau, North Hollywood, 10 p.m. Get your tickets. The link is in the description also, I think. You did? What's up, Remy LeBeau? What up, Sebastian Shaw? That joke was horrible. I bet you been saying that joke on every fat nigga you done met since you was 12 years old. What's up, Ben Frank? G Mars. Darrell, what's up? Oh yeah, that Willie D. Scarface interview. Yeah. I love Scarface as a rapper, but that was some kind of hoe shit. And Willie D, we've seen him do some hoe shit online too, like when he got those copyright strikes against Jason Black's channel. That was some BS. And when he was campaigning a couple years ago. So Willie D been on some BS too every now and again, but Scarface, I was disappointed in Scarface and his response to Willie D. Willie D had a valid concern about the Grammys and the Hip Hop 50 and Scarface doing that song without him. That's a valid concern by Willie D. But yeah. So I appreciate that. Good luck with the show. I appreciate that. What's up, Ben Frank? Vincent Brown Scott. Got 50 people in here. I'm on a porch in the dark. Salute to all y'all that be fucking with me, following me as I sit on my porch in the dark. because my office with my computer and my well-lit sound studio is just about 50 feet from me behind this door here. Yeah, I could get on there and do this, but I don't smoke. I don't smoke in my house like that. So, and I feel like smoking a blunt or two or three or four. You dig? Some Courtney G, Ebony Brennan. So yeah, let's get into it. We talking about the Tether festivities of All-Star Weekend. And let me be clear, when I say Tether festivities, I am not just talking about African and Caribbean immigrants. No. I'm talking about the white folks like Post Malone who did the pregame show. I'm talking about all the white women referees and announcers. I'm talking about these WNBA players that don't nobody want to fucking ever see play basketball. Nobody gives a half of a damn about the WNBA. And they keep shoehorning these chicks in the All-Star Weekend, and that shit's horrible. TV commercials with WNBA players next to Steph Curry. Like, will you calm the fuck down? Steph Curry is basketball god. I know cats that went to my high school, Westchester High School, that can ball up any woman in the WNBA. And they in high school now. They 18. And they can. So, but we're going to talk about all the Tether festivities of the weekend. Because one thing we got to understand as black people is this. We create an economy for everyone to eat off of. Basketball isn't the only sport. All of these other groups, they have their own sports that we as black men, especially black men, can you find, do you see African and Caribbean soccer programs hiring black American men? Not just to play. I mean, in coaching positions, management, team management positions. Do you think that ever happened? Are industries dominated by white women, like because white lesbians? Because we can all, the WNBT is a lesbian organization, period. There are very few straight women in the WNBA. That's not nothing that's a secret. You know, it's mostly, are there any white lesbian run organizations that black men straight can come into and get good paying positions? Does that exist? Can black people go to Caribbean cricket events and play Caribbean music and be the headliners playing Caribbean music at Caribbean sporting events? Is it? All I'm asking is, the economy of the NBA was and still is being built and thrives off the back of the foundation of Black America. Is there anywhere the foundation of Black American male? Is there anywhere the foundation of Black American male can go to receive reciprocity? Is my question. And so to make it clear, that is the point of view. Everything else I'm going to say after this comes from. Because I am a straight Black American male. Foundation of Black American. Everyone say happy birthday to my mom. Today was my mom's birthday. And I was with my mom today, and I was showing her some of the research that I got from Ancestry.com. and I was showing her pictures of her great-great-granddaddy from 1890 and showing Civil War registration records from at least 7 different lines of my family. That's just what I found so far that fought in the Civil War. 7 different lines, and that's where I come from. I was able to pull up paperwork showing that I have family members that fought in the Revolutionary War. The blood running through me fought to free the 13 colonies from British rule. That's the blood that's in me. And I'm straight. There's no dollar amount you could pay me to take a dick in the booty for any kind of job. Where can I go as a straight black American male of any of these other groups that are tethering off All-Star Weekend? The Africans, the Caribbeans, the white women, the LGBTQ folks, all of these different folks, the white men. Are there any industries I can go in and with the talent of my brain? Now, I'm not talking about as a rapper. As an entertainer, well, yeah, black men can go anywhere as far as entertainers go. Well, except for All-Star Weekend, apparently. They don't want black. Well, anyway, I digress. If we're entertainment, if we're bouncing a basketball or dancing, we're accepted. But where can a straight black male go that uses his mind? That's going to open the door for us economically in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So when I speak, I'm speaking to the point of, as a black American male, I have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. But in the events that we make great, everybody seems to be able to eat off the tables that we create. Did black people create the NBA? No, we didn't create the NBA. We didn't create the NBA. It was that white boy in Canada, then in Kansas. I forgot his name. That created the NBA. The NBA was around for a long time. I appreciate that, Miss Wright. Oh, hey, boom. I'm going to get to halftime, bruh. Roll with me. We going to get to halftime. Y'all know I like talking to y'all for a long time. We going to get to halftime, y'all. we just setting the foundation right now. Yeah, Naismith created basketball. So the NBA was around in the George Mikan years and those years of Boston. No one paid it. Do you know when people started paying attention to the NBA? My dad always told me this. My dad used to always say back in the 60s and the 70s, they used to look at basketball as a sissy sport. Everybody played baseball or football. Basketball was a sissy sport back in the 70s. It was Magic Johnson that made basketball watchable. Black man. And to a lesser extent, his rivalry with Larry Bird. But Magic could do it without Larry. Larry wouldn't have been able to do it without Magic. The rivalry just spiced it up more. But it was Magic in those passes. Showtime. Jack Nicholson on the sideline, the Laker girls. James Worthy, Byron Scott. It was Showtime that made the NBA watchable. And then it was Michael Jordan when they created that fantasy of a greatest player of all time. They created that illusion around Michael Jordan. If there was a whiteboard they could have created that illusion around, they would have done it. But they didn't. They created that illusion around Michael Jordan. And then all of the black players that made the league what it is. The most watchable form of entertainment. See, a lot of you niggas are young. In the 80s, the NBA wasn't where it is right now in the 80s, nigga. Baseball and football was ahead. Baseball was let me tell y'all something. Let's go back down history lane. Baseball was America's sport up until the 1994 baseball lockout. It was there was a critical moment. There's a critical swing, the late 80s from like 89 to 94. Late 80s, the most marketable athlete wasn't Michael Jordan. It was really, Bo Jackson was more marketable than Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson, those two. The Bo Knows shit was for real. The Jordans had been around already, but it was Bo that took off. Even though the Jordans came out before Bo Jackson, it was really Bo Jackson in football. And then on the baseball side of the game, you had that last crop of great foundational black American players. You had Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds, Darryl Strawberry. You had that class, Dwight Gooden. And baseball was the sport in the 80s. Bo Jackson gets hurt. Mike Tyson goes to jail for rape. That hurt football for a little bit. Mike Tyson going to jail really hurt boxing. And then baseball had its lockout in 1994. And it was really during baseball's lockout that basketball moved ahead. It was baseball, let me say it again. It was baseball's lockout that pushed basketball ahead. And the marketing of Michael Jordan kept pushing the NBA further and further ahead as we went through the 90s. Again, black players. Also at the same time in the 90s, what else is going on in baseball? Baseball is losing black players. Now, during the 90s, you get this influx of Dominican players. You know, players like Gary Sheffield, black players were too hard to quote-unquote deal with. So you replace Gary Sheffield with Vladimir Guerrero. You know what I mean? No more Darryl Strawberry. Now there's that Ortiz dude in Boston. So as the black American starts to leave baseball, baseball declines in popularity. The lockout is what ended it, but what happened when baseball came back? When baseball started to make a comeback, it was the home runs between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, but what really made baseball's last years really electrifying America was Barry Bonds. That final 5 years, 6 years Barry Bonds had in his career, late 90s, early 2000s, when Barry Bonds became just much-watched TV. The last time baseball was much-watched TV was when Barry Bonds was playing, black American. You dig? So baseball is losing black Americans. Basketball is getting better. So as basketball got better, as you started getting to the 2000s and the 2010s, in the 20 teens, you started seeing them really start to really push out to Africa more. They were Africans in the NBA since the 80s. You know, Hakeem Olajuwon, Manu Bol, Dikembe Mutombo. But the Africans who were around in the 80s and the 90s, they weren't trying to separate themselves. Patrick Ewing was Jamaican. He wasn't running around talking about his Jamaican heritage. They were all fitting in with Black America. On code with Black America. Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, all of these international blacks, they weren't acting like they were better than Black Americans or othering themselves. They were right in lockstep in alignment with us. But they were a backstory because as great as Olajuwon was, and Olajuwon is one of the all-time greats, Shaq was the money. As great as Ewing and Olajuwon was, they were great. And I used to love watching them play against one another. But it was Shaq. That was the money. You dig? So we push forward, we push forward, we push forward, we push forward. When we get to the 2010s, and really we start to, and I said it before, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant were two black alpha male archetypes that they had to kill off. They killed both of them. The Kobe, they told you Kobe was selfish, when really he was showing you what it took to win despite the odds against you. And Allen Iverson was teaching you that no matter how great their marketing is, can't nothing outdo a black person just minding their own goddamn business. Allen Iverson, all he had to do was just be Allen Iverson, and he is more marketable than anything Nike could put together, including Kobe. So they had to change the dress code up and change that up. And then when LeBron comes in, LeBron James brings in the archetype of sharing is caring, and everybody just get along. Don't defeat your enemies, join your enemies. That's a LeBron archetype. Steph Curry threw a monkey wrench in the plan because no one ever knew Steph Curry was this great. You know what I mean? It was supposed to go from LeBron to these foreigners. You know what I mean? They give Giannis and Jokic, the white boy. They gave them the most softball, easiest road to MVP awards I've ever seen in my life. Ain't neither of them motherfuckers had a season as good as Kevin Durant from 2011 to 2016. But they got all these goddamn MVPs. Are you fucking serious? They started handing these the immigrants, the MVPs, and credentializing them, and putting more emphasis on, like, if you look at the Dallas Mavericks are always about getting as many European white people as they could on the team. And they'd always have one FBA. And like, you notice, the Dallas Mavericks tried to win a championship with all them Europeans in the 2000s, but it took them getting they couldn't win that motherfucker with Steve Nash at the point guard. They had to get Jason Kidd. And Jason Kidd was old by the time we got to the Mavericks. They needed that FBA energy to win. Same thing with the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors, their whole thing. Go look at the Toronto Raptors lineup. They're for the last 10 years, 5 years. They're, for the most part, stacked with immigrant blacks. Pascal, most of the black people on the Toronto Raptors are going to be immigrants. But you see, it took that FBA Kawhi Leonard for them to win a championship. And that only happened because Kevin Durant was injured. But you see the formula. So then we get to All-Star Weekend this weekend. And now we're here at All-Star Weekend. I'll just give you guys some backstory. Black Americans created this thing. It was the Black American, the money that's in the NBA right now, before this influx of immigrants, before the influx of these Jokic guys and these Embiids, and I like Joel Embiid, and Siakam and Giannis, before the influx of them, the NBA got its current TV deal that is signed. It was in 2016, $24 billion. That deal was awarded to the NBA because of the Kobe era and the ratings from the Kobe and Shaq and LeBron, early LeBron, Wade, Carmelo, Durant. That era is what got the NBA, Baron Davis, its $24 billion deal. What we're seeing now is there's an influx. The NBA now has a base in Africa, and they're doing right now what baseball did to Black America during the 90s. They're replacing the foundational Black American with the immigrant Black, this time focused in Africa. That's the focus of it, in Africa. And they've been trying like the Dickens for it to be Europe, but it's just not enough good white boys. You know what I mean? They got one right now in Luka, and they're really overhyping him because he's no better than Trae Young. They act like Trae Young is just regular, and Luka's is. I still take Trae Young over Luka any day, all day. And so what they're doing is, but still with Luka, most of the Europeans flop. Dirk is one of my all-time favorite players, white, black, or indifferent. I love Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk is funny too. I was looking at Facebook memories. I found a picture from me. I took a picture with Dirk Nowitzki when the All-Star game was out in Phoenix back in 2009. That shit came up in my Facebook memories the other day. I think Dirk was like one of the only basketball players I ever took a picture with, and I met them all. So I'm saying to say I'm not biased against. To this day, I'll still take Dirk Nowitzki over Kevin Garnett all day, any day, and twice on Sunday, because KG was fake tough. That nigga was only tough when he was facing down white boys. But the minute Rasheed Wallace was across the paint, that nigga fell right in line. I'm taking Dirk over KG all day. But anyway, Dirk came around. You had Dirk. You had, Steve Nash from South Africa. You see how long it took Steve Nash to become great. That's why and people are crazy you put him in your top 100, top 10 point guards. Steve Nash's first 8 years, he wasn't shit. First 7 years, he was okay. He had a couple of affirmative action MVPs, a couple of affirmative action all-star appearances. He was great. Steve Nash had a great 7-year run. But the first 7 years of his career, he was whatever. But I said that to say Europeans were coming too far in between. They drafted all of these great white hopes out of Europe. Chris Snaps, Porzingis. I remember that guy Stidisvili, who was supposed to be good. Primo Brezic was supposed to be the next great white center. You had Darko Milicic. They took fucking Darko Milicic ahead of Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Dumbass Joe Dumars. If Joe Dumars took Dwayne Wade or Carmelo, that Pistons team would have won like 3 more championships. Fucking idiot. And it was a black GM that took that white boy ahead of them niggas. Fool. Something in me tells me the NBA had to do something more about it. Maybe Joe Dumars didn't have a choice in that. The NBA probably was like, you gonna take this white boy. That should be happening. Allegedly. So this is what has been going on in the NBA. So since you can't get enough white people to legitimately take over the NBA, you can't let these niggas keep it. So you go set up feet in Africa. And you get these players, you give them extra time to develop. I saw Siakam was an all-star. See, I remember Siakam wasn't shit his first 3 years in the NBA. Let me tell you something about the NBA, folks. There are a handful of transcendent greats. Maybe anywhere from 6 to 12 at a time are in the NBA. You got your players that you can build. You only really 5 or 6 players at a time that you can really build a team around. Steph Curry, LeBron at one point in his career. Wade at one point in his career. Harden, Durant. You know what I mean? And then after that, you got your all-stars. But after your all-stars, the bottom 2/3 of the NBA could easily be replaced by niggas who aren't in the NBA. I promise you. The bottom 2/3 of the, not even half, the bottom 2/3 of the NBA can be replaced by other black people, because the margin between making a team and not making a team is really, was one, it relies on someone's opinion. Two, does your particular skill set match what that particular team is running? So it's a lot of people who didn't make the NBA because just their skill set, they never got matched with a team that matched their skill set. So you're starting to see a major influx of immigrant blacks. And what's happening to the NBA right now is what's happened to baseball. And it's happening in the NFL too. It's happening in the NFL also. And so this All-Star weekend was the culmination of that. Okay? Follow me. Look at what happened All-Star weekend. First off, you have a white boy win the dunk contest. And hell yeah, I'm saying that was engineered, because first off, this is a white boy who got popular on YouTube for dunking. And he basically was signed to a 2-way deal a week before All-Star weekend. He's never dunked in an NBA game, but they allow him to come up a week before All-Star weekend just so he can be at the dunk contest. What does your spidey senses tell you about that? Press the number 1 if you find that being a little weird, and I'll finally look at the screen for the first time in a while. Oh shit, I've been talking 32 minutes. Press the number 1 if you don't find that a little bit weird. The white boy gets brought up to the NBA just a day before the deadline, before he's eligible to make the dunk contest. If that's just weird, that's just weird. I'm not saying what happened. I'm saying I don't know what happened. I just know that that's weird. I really thought it was weird when they had Harold Miner down there, because Harold Miner was known for being somebody he was known as Baby Jordan. He could dunk, but he couldn't play. Well, he could play, but he couldn't play well enough to stay on the court. So I kind of saw that. When I saw Harold Miner there, I was like, why are they bringing Harold Miner? He was from LA, played the USC, but he won the dunk contest as a member of the Miami Heat. But he was never really good enough to stay in the game for long periods of time. And he was out of the NBA after a couple years. So when I saw Harold Miner, when I looked at it just from my third eye, I was like, all right, that's right there. They're about to have this white boy win. And y'all can check my tweets. I put up a tweet right as the dunk contest started. I said, as long as the white boy can walk and chew gum and he don't stumble over his own 2 feet, he's going to win the dunk contest. It doesn't matter. All he has to do is make his dunks, and he's going to win. He's going to get 50s for everything. It's the Eminem complex. I'm not saying the white boy wasn't good. That dunk he did when it was 2 people stacked, that was very creative. You know what I mean? It was extremely creative. You know, still when you look at the height of it, it was no different than Dwight Howard. I mean, Nate Robinson jumping over Dwight Howard, but Nate Robinson jumping over Dwight Howard was actually better, actually. Maybe because I was there. I was at that dunk. Do y'all know I was every dunk contest that Dwight Howard won, I was there. Quick Dwann trivia. Not as playing. Yeah, I was there. I was there when Nate Robinson beat Dwight Howard. If that was a Vegas All-Star weekend. That shit was fun. We was drunk as fuck. But so you see, I said, okay, that's what this is. Every other black person in this dunk contest is window dressing because this boy is about to win. This whole All-Star weekend thing being in Utah, what else does Utah symbolize? Can I go real deep with y'all real quick? If y'all don't mind, Utah is that state, Salt Lake City is an old city, an extremely old city. When that area was a central hub of governing for this particular landmass we now call the United States. Back in the days of the empires that existed on this land before the United States occupied this territory, that Utah area was a central place of government when you go back 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago, 700 years ago. Salt Lake City was always a centralized, just like Chicago is now. Well, not really Chicago. There's Chicago, the Chicago area, that Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, that whole little area, that was also a central hub. And so was New York City. New York City was always metropolitan. And that shit didn't start when the European came here. New York City it had so many diverse, it was a hub of trade 1,000 years ago. So I saw it being in Utah as is extremely, for those of us who understand history and understand symbolism, the game being in Utah was symbolic because a lot of those, what the Mormons did when they took over Salt Lake City, they basically superimposed themselves over structures and civilizations that were already there. You feel me? It's the reason why if you want to look through your history and you want to know more about your slave, like the records of slaves of slave ancestors of yours, some of the best records you can find of slave ancestry, you can find in the Mormon church. The Mormons documented a lot of the stuff. They superimposed their civilization over civilizations that were already in that Salt Lake, Utah area. So this game being in Utah to me was symbolic of superimposing one identity over another. So let's think about this for a second. You get the white boy, and you saw how they were hyping him up. If you didn't know who that white boy was before the dunk contest, Kenny Smith and those guys were telling you, I'm going to take him. No, he's going to win. He's going to win. And every single dunk that the white boy did, all of the announcers, it was like a script. They were being nothing but complimentary. Juxtapose that to the three black dunkers. I don't watch the NBA like I used to, so I don't know these niggas' names like I used to. If we're having this same conversation 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I know everybody's name, what college they went to, their height, all that. But the last 4 years, I just haven't been as interested in the NBA as I used to be. So excuse me for not knowing their names. I know the name of everyone you want to know pre-2018 season. Like I said, my mind is a basketball computer. If you type in the year, especially if it's any year after 1975, I could tell you who won the championship that year. So, but that one brother with the afro from, I think he was on the Hawks, he dunked and he put his whole shoulder in the rim. This nigga dunked and the nigga's armpit was in the rim. And they were like, well, we've seen that before. And, oh, did he use the net? Oh, my God. And then he saw Karl Malone. All you got to do, once you saw Karl Malone as a judge, you knew that he was going to go anything the white boys was going. You know Karl Malone's going to fall in line with the white boy. You knew that. This nigga gave him a 46 on that dunk. You had the other brother who did the reverse from one side to the other, and what were the announcers saying? Oh, it was good, but, you know, this what they do. They don't be outright nasty saying it was bad. They'll be like, it's good, but. It was good, but, you know, I thought he would have jumped a little bit higher. It would be something they would say to cut any one of the three black men when they dunk. Go back and listen. Them announcers had something to say to cut away at what they did. But when a white boy dunked, it was, oh, we just saw Jesus. So, and I'm with y'all. A lot of y'all say, and hold me, and Miles, take me back to my point in about 1 minute, Miles. The point I want y'all to take me back to is me talking about the dunk contest. But I want to make this quick little segue, then I'm gonna get right back on point in about 1 minute. A lot of people saying they can't watch, and I'm with you. That's why I didn't watch for a long time. There was a period in my life where I just couldn't watch a lot of things because I'll see the propaganda, and there's still certain things I can't watch because it's just too much, and it would just outfill it. That's fine. You got to be wherever you are in your personal development. The ideal is to get to the point to where you can be an observer of life, to where it doesn't bother you. And I'm saying that as someone who for years the shit bothered me. And certain things still do bother me. I'm not here to say I'm some all the way refined nigga. Certain shit still does bother me. But for the most part, I've defeated that battle of these things bothering me. Now I can watch and just observe the story being told, because it's all a story. Whether we're talking about sports, TV shows, movies, it's all a story. And if you can learn to watch and just be an observer of the story, you can get the messages and you can see where society is going for the next 10, 15 years. And you can also teach the children and teach the young ways to thwart the bullshit. Because once you can see the agenda can't fuck with you. The agenda can only fuck with you if you don't see it. But I'm not saying that as some totally refined nigga. It's still certain shit I'm not gonna see. Like, my wife keeps telling me to watch Wakanda because she's telling me I know that I'll be able to break the message down to some real deep shit. Because my wife knows that about me. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that bullshit ass Wakanda. I don't know. I'm definitely not gonna watch no Woman King. I don't give a fuck what messages the Woman King is saying. I ain't watching that shit. But, so I'm not here to say that I'm perfectly all the way, know what the fuck I'm all the way there. In certain areas I draw my line. But when it comes to things like the Super Bowl, like I watched the Super Bowl this past, last week, and that was my first time watching the Super Bowl since like 2016. But when I watch it, I don't care who wins. I'm just observing the story being told. So I did the same thing with All-Star Weekend. I don't care about basketball anymore like that. I really don't care about basketball anymore. Now I can watch it and just see what story they're telling me. What are they trying to do? And will it work? Because mind you, just because they're trying to do something doesn't mean it'll work. It's just foreshadowing. So back to the foreshadowing. You had the dunk contest, the Mac McClung white boy that won the dunk contest. And I'm looking at the rising stars. I'm looking at the all-star rosters. And these all-star rosters got like 3 white boys on it and a bunch of immigrants. Like Siakam, I know I don't watch basketball as much as I used to, but I've seen enough basketball this season to know that Siakam wasn't no fucking all-star. You know, Bam Adebayo, he definitely was an all-star from Miami. But I'm like, oh, wow, it's a lot of immigrants in this all-star game. And notice this about basketball coverage. This goes back to the Tony Parker, Tim Duncan years. They never say anything bad about the immigrants' games. And that goes back to Tim Duncan. Go back to Tim Duncan's career. They were never critical of Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, his whole career, had the most stacked teams in the NBA. Those Spurs were always top 3 as far as roster depth. Always. Tony Parker was a better point guard than Steve Nash. Anybody who knows hoop understands that. Tony Parker used to kill Steve Nash. Steve Nash was just in a system, that D'Antoni system, that elevated his numbers. But as far as actual play, Tony Parker was better than Steve Nash. Manu Ginobili is one of the greatest 6 men to ever play basketball. Manu Ginobili is one of that Argentinian white boy. Fuck what you heard. DeJuan's not racist. I gotta give credit where credit is due. That white boy Manu Ginobili was the shit. And they had a bench. They always had a bench. Always had a bench with the Spurs. One year they had Steve Smith, Steve Kerr. Like, god damn, how deep is this bench gonna get? They'd always find something critical of Rasheed Wallace, partially because Rasheed Wallace was always cussing out them referees. But they never had anything critical of Duncan's game. The fact that he never went back-to-back. The fact that there's no way in hell the Spurs should have lost to my 2008 Lakers. I love my Lakers, but the 2008 Lakers without Andrew Bynum, the Spurs were just coming off of a finals win in 2007 sweep of the Cavs. There's no way in hell they should have lost to the Lakers. They should have beat the Lakers that year. They had Antonio McDyess coming off the bench playing power forward. I think that year Antonio McDyess was shooting like 46% from mid-range. Like that nigga was like 54% from mid-range. That nigga was wet. They had Fabricio Alberto. Them niggas was balling that year. But Tim Duncan couldn't come through. They were never critical. They're never critical of Dirk losing in the first round to the Golden State Warriors in 2007, the We Believe season. They were never critical of Steve Nash's lack of defense. They're never critical of Giannis's inability to shoot free throws and the fact that he can't score if he doesn't have at least 2 shooters on the court. If you notice, Giannis, the reason why he lost in the playoffs last year was because there was no Middleton to spread the floor. You take one shooter off the court, Giannis' whole game changes. Giannis Antetokounmpo can only score when he has 3 knockdown shooters on the court, and you can't sag in off the wings on him, and he gets to play one-on-one and go to the basket. The minute you can sag off of him because he doesn't have shooters, he don't have no backup options in his game. But he gets 2 MVPs because he's foreign. They don't bring up the fact that Nikola Jokic cost his team in the playoffs 2 years in a row because of his temper and him getting kicked out of games. They always talk about Draymond's temper. They always used to talk about Rasheed Wallace's temper, but they never talk about Jokic's temper. So the Europeans and the Africans and the Caribbean players, they get to just play basketball and not have their games sparsed apart. James Harden revolutionized basketball with his step-back three-point game, with his ability to draw fouls. People used to always be like, man, James Harden just gets fouls. No, James Harden doesn't get fouls. James Harden gets fouled because his game is so great. When he's dribbling and he shifts you and gets you, James Harden is so pay attention to James Harden. His career is slowing down now. But if you go to prime James Harden back with Houston, James Harden would dribble, dribble, dribble. And then the minute James Harden got you to shift your weight and turn your hips, the minute your hips turn, James Harden, boom, going the other direction. And then he gets alongside of you because he's fast. And then you only have two choices. Give him a free throw, give him a free layup, or foul him. But y'all say he's getting something. James Harden is the blueprint for it. Now, they literally praise that white boy, Luka Doncic. And his game is a dumbed down version of James Harden. James Harden was shit on year in and year out. Now Luka gets praised for doing the same fucking thing, but not as good. You feel me? Russell Westbrook. They treat that man like he ain't shit. Because he got a turnover problem and he can't shoot. But they marginalize that black man. They don't marginalize Giannis for not shooting. Giannis is a worse shooter than Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a better shooter than Giannis. But they don't make Giannis Antetokounmpo a running punchline because he can't shoot. But the foundation of Black American, basically they use the Black American as a punchline in the NBA. Outside LeBron James. They give love to LeBron James and they tolerate Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry has charisma. They tolerate him and you can't deny him because he is the greatest shooter of all time and has 4 championships. So they tolerate him because he won those championships. So this All-Star weekend was a culmination of this. This has been going on slowly since the turn of the century. This thing has been churning real slow. But like I said, for the Super Bowl, the whole point of having Rihanna perform and be on that, remember Rihanna came down, she descended from the top. That was putting into your subconscious, here comes this person coming down from heaven to entertain you. We're replacing you niggas and we're bringing these motherfuckers down on top of you. That's what that was about. And same thing with All-Star Weekend. You have that, you have all of these immigrants now at All-Star Weekends who, if you pay attention, you're never going to see these announcers criticize their games. But the Black American, look what happened, that's what they do to us. So you get that going on. The thing is, they've been holding on to LeBron too long. If the NBA was smart, the money's on Ja Morant. Ja Morant is the star of the NBA. Problem. Ja Morant is a confident black man who has a father who loves him that's at every game. That's a problem. So because America has this agenda to where they can't push alpha black male, but responsible alpha black male prototype with a father, they're not going to push that. The NBA is cutting its nose to spite its face because it doesn't want to push Ja Morant. It's going to now, the new thing now is to have this revolving circle of immigrant stars. I'm telling you right now, the MVP this year is going to either be Jokic, Embiid, or Luka. I don't care if Ja Morant finishes first and he plays most of the season injury free. There's nothing Ja Morant can do to win MVP. It's going to be Embiid, Jokic, or Luka. The only way Ja Morant can win MVP is if all 3 of them immigrants get injured and miss the whole second half of the season. But it's going to be between them 3 immigrants. I can goddamn promise you that. So when it comes down to it, Look at this. They keep pushing Jokic. Do they ever criticize Jokic for his playoff shortcomings? See, help me out here because when I watch basketball, I'll be listening to jazz. I don't be listening to these announcers most of the time, but when I do listen to the announcers, I've never seen them be critical of Jokic coming up short in the playoffs and having emotional outbursts that got him suspended from playoff games. They don't bring that up, do they? See how that works? You see how that works? If I'm bullshitting, tell me. Y'all watch basketball, and again, like, when I talk sports and current events, y'all see what I do? We talk current events, we talk sports, but we going deep on this shit. We gonna think. And I'm not saying I'm always right, but we gonna spur thought and have these conversations, you dig? You feel me? So, you get to the halftime show of All-Star Game. Now, first you get to the pregame show, it's Post Malone. Okay, it's in Utah. I get it. Now you get to the halftime show. And boy, that halftime show wasn't shit. Did y'all see that halftime show? That halftime show wasn't shit. It was an Afro Beats halftime show. Now you see why Siakam was an all-star. Right? Right? Jason Tatum probably should win MVP. Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, they're not going to win. It's going to go to an immigrant. Not going to win. So they have the Hot Garbage Afro Beats halftime special. We're at 57 minutes. Hit the like button and share, please. You know me, I'm the only nigga on the internet that do this shit in the dark and hold niggas' attention. You got motherfuckers getting paid millions of dollars on TV and they can't do this shit. So hit the share button, hit the like button, please. $sign DwannBrown on the Cash App. Get your Black American Music Family Tree, t-shirts and posters. And my show live, February 25th at the Comedy Chateau. It's almost sold out. Get your tickets, nigga. I'm drinking on this wine right here. So we get to this halftime show. Let's go into some history of what is Afro Beats, all right? Y'all notice how they celebrated Afro Beats. But let me give y'all a clue. Are y'all listening? Press the thumbs up if you're listening, because I want y'all to pay very close attention. And if somebody's not listening, tap them on the shoulder and tell them to pay attention, okay? Press the thumbs up, let me know you're listening. Okay. Clue. Whenever there's a group celebrating their music, if you want to know a quick clue into the Black American influence over their sound, take a look at the instrumentation being used. Let me say that one more time. If you want insight as to what's the dominant culture being on display, whether you're talking about K-pop, Afro beats, salsa, Look at the instrumentation being used. Therein lies the true cultural influence. Because culture is not just an expression of your thought, meaning the music. It's also the instrumentation you're using to express that culture. Okay? And what that instrumentation is based on. The drum set is not African. Playing drums with sticks is not Africans. African drums are hand drums. African drums are used as a polyrhythmic communication tool that drives the beat of the music. Okay? The Black American drums use sticks. Y'all ever look at them old cartoons and they showed you Indians playing drums with sticks? That's you, nigga. There lies your tom-toms on the drum set. Those toms you see? That is native Black American. Now, if you go look up, they'll say that, oh, that's when the Asians came to America, they brought the toms. No. The toms is ours. That kick drum. The foot pedal was invented by D.D. Chandler out of New Orleans in 1896. So the drum set is distinctly our instrument. That kick, do. That's done with a pedal that was invented by a Black person, foundational Black American male. The snare, the hi-hat, the drum set is ours. So no matter why am I saying that? No matter what music you hear being played, if a drum set is being used, that sound was rooted in Black American music. Let me say that again. There is no other cultural music on the planet of Earth. Let me say that one more time. There is no other culture on the planet Earth that used a drum set before the 1950s. We started using the drum set documented in the 1890s, but they said it goes back before that too, right? Other cultures started getting drum sets when they saw us using it. That was them imitating our sound from their cultural perspective. If you see a bass guitar, that's the Black American influence. The electric bass was created by the Fender Company, but it was put in the hands of Black jazz and blues musicians, and Black musicians created the style in which the bass guitar is played. Larry Graham, Bootsy Collins, Verdine White. The list goes on and on. Louis Thunder Thumbs Johnson. The preeminent bassists of today, the two preeminent bassists of today are Derek Hodge and Thundercat. Those are the two preeminent bass guitarists of today, 2023. The saxophone. The saxophone was an instrument that's been around for a long time. But the saxophone was never a lead instrument. It was a complementary instrument within orchestras that was never played as a lead until Coleman Hawkins, until Lester Young, until Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, It was the black American that made the saxophone a lead instrument. Same thing with the trumpet. The cornet was the popular three-riveted horn. It was Louis Armstrong that made the trumpet the primary horn. Before Louis Armstrong, it was the cornet, okay? The keyboard. When you see these instruments, you're already dealing with black American culture, flat out. Because those cultures don't have those instruments native to their music. Let me say that one more time. Those cultures don't use that instrumentation in their native music. That instrumentation came about when they listened to our music and tried to imitate it. Insert Fela Kuti, 1971. Travels to America, comes to LA, and he's highly influenced by the James Brown sound and the militancy within black American music. And Fela himself said his music wasn't coming together until he came to America and saw the militancy within our music and the instrumentation, the sound. So what he did when he came to America, when he went back home, he ditched African drums and he brought in a drum set, brought in a bass guitar, brought in a keyboard. He said, fuck these native African instruments. I'm going to bring the instrumentation them niggas in America use. He brought black American instrumentation to Africa. You dig what I'm saying? The same way Bob Marley and the Wailers and those guys did with reggae. So when you're using our instruments and you're playing a sound that was created after interacting with our culture, I'm only saying look at this from an anthropological point of view, black people. I look at things from an anthropological point of view. That was my minor in college. I'm so glad I took that minor. Because you understand how to assess a dominant and a subdominant culture. The dominant culture is the one whose tangible resources are the ones being used. It's inventions and creations. If you ditch your instrumentation to use my instrumentation, that means that I'm the dominant culture. My culture is dominant over yours because you acquiesce. Not because I won some kind of war, not because I forced you, not because I told you to or made you do it. No, you did that by choice. I didn't even ask you to change your instruments. We wasn't thinking about you. We was minding our own black ass business. But you see what we doing and you change your culture. Okay? So, yeah, just in Monk Montgomery. Thank you for Monk Montgomery. Thank you for that. So, that tells you who is who. Who is who? So they bring in Burna Boy And I don't know who the other person was that performed, but it was this one dude that performed in All Star Weekend, the middle guy. It was the first guy, then the guy in the middle, and then the chicks that looked like a fake ass SWV. They even had 1996 weaves in their head. But back to what I'm talking about, the dude, y'all saw that one African. This nigga had white girls dancing. Did y'all see that shit? Africans. How do y'all finally get a chance to perform All Star Weekend, and you got one of your performers dancing with white background dancers? What the fuck was that, Africans? I mean, serious, brother, serious. Y'all let them white women dance. All them good dancing black women, African women y'all got. Africa ain't got no shortage of big booty, good dancing black women. Y'all had white women dancing All-Star Weekend. What the fuck was that? See, that's why I'm not worried, because what did they say? I can give it to you, but what you gonna do with it? I can give it to you, but what? I can give it to you, but what you gonna do with it? See, and I said this before, I said this last night or other night. We've faced this before. I'm talking, do y'all hear how calm I'm talking? I see what they trying. I'm calm. You don't see me over here in a rage saying, we need to. I'm not worried about it because it ain't gonna work. It never works. These white folks have been trying to separate us from our cultural inheritance for the last 100-some-odd years. We always bounce back. The only thing we need to do differently is we need to be open about it. We need to have these conversations and talk about it. We can't just be quiet. And us having these conversations and us opening our mouths and keeping this narrative going, truth is always going to outdo a lie. A lie got to get told every day, all day, in order for you to sustain believability. You dig? Hell yeah, Bishop. Super Bowl and Black History Month, and also we can tether our Black History Month. Yep, that's exactly what happened. It won't work because everybody gets a little short run. Just like this Afrobeats run is just gonna be like Ricky Martin's run. It's just gonna be like Daddy Yankee's young run, and all these other people who try to skim off our culture and make our music, but in their native voice. You dig? Yeah, it's gonna fade out. Hell yeah, it's gonna fade out. Gonna fade out. Like Afrobeats gonna be a thing by 2025. By 2025, by 2025, 2024, hell, Afrobeats is gonna be done. It's gonna be on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. So what y'all talking about in the chat room? Yeah, what y'all talking about? I'm about to get the fuck up out of here pretty soon. But we see with the agenda going on. All-Star Weekend. Look what happened at the end of the day. It takes us back to our original topic. All-Star Weekend was trash. Like, all these things didn't go on and the weekend was successful. No, it wasn't. You saw during the halftime show, wasn't nobody jumping up and wasn't nobody tripping off that shit. What up, Kirk? Going, what are my thoughts on Tyler, the Creator? I don't know what's going on with Tyler, the Creator. Honestly, I don't. I think Tyler, the Creator, he don't make he don't make my style of music, but you know, he makes a style of music for people who like, a whole lot of people who like his music. So keep making that music, nigga. You're right about that, William Nevins. We are the dominant culture of the planet. The evidence is the planet changes its cultural activities when it meets ours, and we be minding our own black ass business. Yep. Any more questions? Any more questions? Yeah, I'm sure I'll be in Dallas for the. I should be there for the conference. I'm not sure yet, but I might. I love going to Dallas. Hell, I might drive to Dallas. I love driving. I like driving to Texas. I don't know why. I've flown to Texas because the flight to Texas is pretty easy. It's only like 2.5, 3 hours. But for some reason, I like driving to Texas. I might drive again. I don't know. Kirk, I'm trying to wait for your question because I don't know what's going on with Tyler, the Creator. I'm about to log off, but I want you don't have to Cash App, just type up your question. What happened with Tyler, the Creator? I'm trying not to log off before you, I can at least help answer your question. Man. Texas, boy. I remember when I drove to Dallas a couple years ago, the first sign I saw was Texas, obey. I was like, shit. Hey, I'm about to log the fuck up off out of here. Hey, Kirk, whatever question you had, Kirk, email me, info@DwannB.com. But All-Star Weekend was trash. It's foreshadowing as to what's to come. They're going to continue to try to put a different face on our culture. But just like All-Star Weekend, that shit's going to flop. My thoughts on Tyler, the Creator's music? Tyler, the Creator, he's fun-loving and he's in his own pocket. He's in his own creative world. So my thing with Tyler, the Creator is, nigga, he ain't my style of music, but for those who it is, keep making your money. That's a good idea, Emmanuel. I might actually watch the Black Panther movie and break it down. I'll see. No, Camp 10, I don't mean that. That's a different sign. Don't mess with Texas is a completely different sign than obey. I'm talking about Highway 40 after you leave that Phillips 66 gas station as you leave New Mexico. It's a Phillips 66 on the 40, going out of New Mexico just before you get into Texas. As soon as you cross into Texas, that shit says obey. Then a few miles down the line, it's another sign that says don't mess with Texas. Different sign, brother. That nigga Torrance said Afro-Cat music. Matter of fact, Kurt, questions like that, I really do want to direct y'all to my Discord. I'm gonna be answering more questions. Questions like y'all be having like that, join my Discord at DwannB, DWANB. All right, I'm about to get the fuck up out of here, y'all. And remember this. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. For those willing to pick up the game. Fuck that All-Star Weekend. This shit ain't gonna work. I'm out.